How we all doing? So we're going to be digging into board games today. So I've been doing this channel for 3 weeks now, and I sell toys, board games, and video games. And I haven't done any board games yet because I'm pretty particular about what I take in at this point. At a point, I had about 100 board games for sale. I dropped prices on them. I stopped buying them as frequently. I donated some just to knock it down. Right now, I probably have 15, and I just brought in 3 more over the course of a couple of weeks. So I was waiting to have enough to actually do a video about board games. Board games are very different from other types of selling because there's really 3 markets for board games. One is board games that are collectible. 2 is board games that are playable, and 3 board games that can be parted out. So, this is a board game that is collectible, and it's also a board game that is playable. Onitama. I have sold this previously for good money, so of course once you sell something and you know roughly what you got for it, it's really easy to go through the board game section at the thrift stores, which is often a very heavy section because it's a thing people tend to get rid of. And we're going to do a whole video on board games and talk about the supply and demand aspect of that. But Onitama, the strategy game, martial arts based. Not sure who the manufacturer is exactly. But why this is collectible, anything in the West, anything that is of an Oriental nature already has an audience. That's the nature of Western civilization, is we want to be the East really bad, and the Eastern civilization wants to be the West very bad. It is what it is. But anything that is Oriental is going to be pretty profitable generally. One, that it's not going to be heavily distributed. This is very much a niche game, and it's going to have it automatically its own fan base, and it's a playable game. We're going to talk a bit about games that are actually playable in that upcoming video. But basically, you want to buy games that people will actually want to own and will play more than once or twice before giving it away. The classic game that everybody has played at least once in their life is Monopoly. And the thing is, everybody owned Monopoly in the 80s and 90s, but nobody played it because it's miserable. It's a game that's actually terrible. It takes 6 hours to play. People get angry. It's not good for little kids because it's too complicated. So it really, as a game, it became very popular, but it actually isn't a very good game. So a lot of these indie games are actually built on being playable over and over again, fun. Some of them are fairly quick, some of them are longer form. But first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our handy guide up. I paid $3 for this. So when I do games and larger objects, my objective is to at least quadruple my money, because I have to have it around, if not quintuple my money, because I have to store it, and once this sells, I have to package it. So you do shipping on stuff like this, or at least I do, but you're kind of just paying yourself for the storage and the time, and it keeps you from buying too many things that take up too much space. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open it up. We're going to see if I have the whole thing. So, another part of this, collectible games, people want all the parts. Playable games, people want all the parts. And then you have games that you buy specifically for parts. So, Monopoly is actually what I buy for parts. I don't buy it to ever sell because it doesn't sell. I've given away many of them. I've had to reduce price and break even on a lot of them before I figured out that supply and demand, there's too many Monopoly types. and it's really the same game over and over. Some of the really quirky ones do well, like the Rick and Morty Monopoly does well. Pokemon Monopoly, stuff like that, where you're not buying it for Monopoly, you're buying it for the associated media. Everything will have like components, and that's what you want to find. So let's figure out if this is all here. So, sad news. I am missing a piece. This game is actually not playable missing that piece. Some games have a bunch of extra components that you can run the game without it, and this is not one of those games. So we go into plan B, which is, can I part this out? So Monopoly is a great example of something I buy for parts. If I can get a Monopoly for under $3, I will buy it, provided it's not the newer version. Because I can sell the money, the tokens, the chance and community chest cards, the property cards, and the hotels and houses, all separately for $8. So I actually, if I were to sell every component, I would make $15 on it. So the ones that sell are the money, the tokens, and the houses and property cards are about equal. Chance cards almost never sell. So you end up with stacking up some stuff, but I've never had to part this game out. I remember the one I did sell, I actually got it still wrapped up, and that's why I sold it for quite a bit. So we're going to look at this game. So there's expansions to it, which I did not know. And people are selling individual cards, which I have here, and collections of cards. So I don't think anybody's going to buy the game incomplete because they have to then pay for shipping. So really the box is the detractor at that point because it's heavy. So people are selling like cards from different series. I'm not seeing parts, so I'm going to put in parts. Let's see what we come up with and get an idea. Well, parts didn't do anything for us. What do we name them? Pawns? None. Okay. That's not a great sign. Cards we can try, because that seemed to be something that was listed. 65 results. So this is Kickstarter stuff. It looks like the standard set, actually. Dice Tower? I've never played this game, but I have all these cards. That's the standard 16 that the game comes with. This guy's selling 14 of the 16. This is a different set. These are different. So unfortunately, this might end up being trash, which would be sad, but I'm only out $3 at that point. So we gotta see what actually moves on these cards, if anything. So some complete games. Some of those cards. And these are all from additional sets. So I'm seeing neither the parts listed or sold, which to me says that is opportunity, because somebody may be missing these pieces. So what I do in that case, and there's no guarantee that it sells, but I'm going to list these pieces and these cards as a set. I might throw in the rule book too, because it's very light. That'll keep the weight down, because the mat is heavy. So I don't want to ship that. So we'll put that together and take a picture and then determine a value. All right, so looking into it, this weighs 6 ounces, so it's going to take a little bit to ship it. I've decided to price it at $10. So this is all the parts to play the game, minus the box, minus the board, and 1 pawn. And I did that because the game itself, in used condition, sells for about $20. So if you were to have lost a part and you really liked the game, or lost several parts, you'd be more inclined to buy the pieces to the game than replace the game. Also, if somebody really wanted a couple of these pieces, they could take what they needed, complete their game, and then resell the pieces basically at the same price I'm selling it for, because there are no pieces for this game for sale. Either for sale or sold. So I'm kind of the guinea pig on this, but doing $10, which is a reasonable price, I will recoup my loss plus 2. Not ideal. I would have much rather have sold it for, $22. But that's life. You don't know what's going to be in the box. You kind of just go by weight a lot of times, and a lot of times with boxes, if you take them and you kind of do this shake motion, you can tell if there's pieces inside. Sometimes people will bring a game to a thrift shop that's missing like literally every piece in it. All right, so let's move on to the next game. Now I know what you're thinking. That's a game? Yeah, apparently this is a game. So I went into a thrift store I didn't know existed. And it's actually near my house. They really didn't have anything. The thrift store is owned by a guy who does like estate cleanouts. And he gets to keep what, part of that deal is you pay people to do that and they get to keep whatever's there. So he'd opened up a store after like 25 years of filling storage units to sell off some of the stuff he got. So I came in, I introduced myself, said, looking for toys, board games, video games. He's like, well, I don't have any video games. I don't have any toys, but I got the Rodney Dangerfield game. The what? He's like, yeah, and he showed me it, and I got it for $3. So I, without being rude, pulled out my phone and searched it up, and this is actually a desirable game. So going back to that whole spiel at the beginning, people that buy games buy them to collect them, and this one is collectible. You got to think about when this game was released, which was 1980. Who would buy this? It's really oddly specific. You can't play it with your family, more than likely. So you would have to assume supply and demand. The supply of this game was probably very limited, and what was made likely didn't sell. But demand, it's weird. It has a celebrity name to it. It conceptually, I could see people wanting to own this, and that's the case. So let's open it up and see if we have everything. All right, and good news, we got the whole game. We got the box, we got the insert. There's 80 pieces to it. No, that's fine. Counted them. So 10 of each numbered token, 80 in total, and the rules on how to play. So we can roll this as a complete game. It's going to be a collectible game. Obviously, it's old. It does have a little bit of damage here that I'm going to have to mention in the listing. It's just like little marks on the box that if you're a collector and you want something completely perfect, this ain't it. But I suspect there's so few of these, it's not going to matter. Obviously, supply and demand there. If the demand's high enough and the supply of mint condition ones is low enough, too low, people will come in. Oh, I forgot to turn off my chroma key. That's brilliant. I was filming something else earlier. There you go. Bam. There. That actually made the whole thing better. Okay. But anyway, so I don't think the damage really matters. The fact it's complete is great. It has some jokes in it if you want to hear what you're missing if you've never heard Rodney Dangerfield. No respect. I called up for the right time. The record hung up on me. So yeah, back in the day you had to call to get the time to set your clock. You call the number and it's a recording. So that's the kind of humor you missed out on in the 80s if you weren't around. Should be thankful for that. Alright, so we got this. Let's dig into what we can get for this. So we've got 57 listings, which is more than I thought it would be, honestly. Ours is complete. Just looking real quick at the complete ones. This dude wants $50. We've got 21, 22. I'm not sure if this is complete. They don't say in the listing. But yeah, prices are kind of all over the place on asking. So if we go here to sold, we've got one pre-owned that went for 38. Got a 26. Got a 23. This was a bid for 26. Got 34. We got 40. So it does move. We got 13 sold, 57 listed. Ours is complete. The box isn't perfect. I got it for 3, and that's where sourcing is important, where you don't want to overextend yourself. So I am going to pack it up, get a weight on it, and then my price is going to be, I think we're going to do 20. And that should be more than enough. And then I'll figure out what we actually make off of that. So, checked it out. Looks like it's going to be 2 pounds, 6 ounces to ship. 20 inches. So, going to be about $9 to ship this, depending on where people live. If they want to spend more to get it shipped further away, they're free to do so. So, I'm going to bring in, after shipping, $10. So, not a great sale. I didn't realize there was this many for sale at a lower price because I looked at sold listings. I don't know if these popped up later or if there's some reason people aren't buying the cheaper ones versus the more expensive. But for $3, I think we did pretty good. So on to the next game. Here's an odd one. And you don't have to know everything about board games to find board games that are going to be worth money. So there's a few context clues on games that will tell you that it's either going to be collectible or playable or both. So one is a company you've never heard of. So it's pretty expensive to produce board games. However, in the age of Kickstarter, there's a lot of board games that came out that were funded based on the idea of something that people would want to play. And a lot of these companies came up from that. What that tells you, a small company and potentially Kickstarter funded, is that there's a finite amount of these ever made. So the supply is very low, and the demand can go up or down, but typically if a game was well made, it interested people, the demand tends to go up. The other context clue is any game that has a person's name on it as the creator of the game is going to be a small independent game. That the Dead giveaway kind of has a unique name: Escape, The Curse of the Temple, some box art, and you can't tell visually, maybe if I tip it, no. So most mass-produced games have a texture to them. It's a glossy finish. This actually has like a almost like corduroy, which is a terrible example, but really that's what it is. It has lines. I don't know if that's some part of a printing process, but you can tell small independent companies that the boxes all have this, and there has to be a reason that it's printed a certain way. So that at least tips you off that, hey, this might be something. And I looked it up, and sure enough, it was worth grabbing. I paid $5 for it. Let's see on the back. I don't know anything about it, so it's going to be a bit hair raising here. So one of the other things that I touched on a little bit was that games that are playable, and some of the old board games just aren't playable because they take too long. So Monopoly takes forever to play. Another game from that era that does very well is the game Sorry, because it's easy to play, everyone can play it, and it's something that's still popular today. So if you look on the back, this says it's a 10-minute game. So that's going to be something that people would be willing to play more than a couple of times before passing this on. If people are willing to play the game, then they're going to keep the game because they play it sometimes, and these won't re-enter circulation. So, with all that said, hopefully we have a complete game. There looks like there's an awful lot of parts to this. So, through the magic of the pause button, I will open it up and figure out if we've got something here. Every once in a while, you have this happen. The game has never been played. All the pieces are still in these punch cards. Nothing has ever been opened up. So I can sell this as open box. It's going to get me a few dollars more than it would otherwise. So pretty cool. Happens, when you think about board games, sometimes board games are a good gift for people you don't know what to get them. So you just kind of make a guess. Sometimes you miss pretty hard. And those people don't want to throw it away, but they don't want to own it because it takes up space and it ends up in a thrift shop. So their loss is my treasure, although it wasn't their loss, I suppose, if it was a gift. But anyways, let's take a look at what we got here. So, Escape the Curse of the Temple. So brand new. This guy's selling for $55. There's 62 for sale. Some promo tiles, whatever that means. Promo tiles again. I doubt there's any extras in here. So I'm just going to go off the box. And I'm looking for the one with a CD in the corner. So we got pre-owned. That guy's going for $35 plus shipping. So this is around $50. Asking. There may be a wide disparity between what they're asking and what this actually goes for. So 47 is the lowest price I'm seeing. 47. So let's actually look at what this sells for. So that was 87 shipped. So we're looking at $40. There's some pieces for sale. Why does this say with expansion? I'm going to have to dig into this a little bit. This might be some kind of special box. So I don't want to let it go if I can get more for it, obviously, but another 40. It's a really bad picture. 42. So 40 after shipping seems to be our price. The box does have a tiny bit of damage, but I don't think this is necessarily a collector thing. I think people want to play this. So 40 is the price that it's routinely selling for. We got to look at what the prices are here and see if we can sneak between it. It was like 47. So I'm going to say we could probably do 35, and I just want to get it out of here, quite frankly. I don't want to have a lot of board games around. So let me take some pictures of it and really firmly decide on a price. We're looking at it for a bit. Listed it for, with a $10 shipping, I listed it for 28 bucks. New games were going for 50. Incomplete games were going for 36, so I thought 35 was a little low, considering the game is unpunched. So I listed it as complete and unplayed. Explained in the description why I was listing it for that. So after shipping and fees, not too bad. We're actually going to do one more non-board game item just to get it off my table here where I stack stuff waiting to list. So it's some bonus content today, if you will. Well, this is quite different, and I don't usually buy stuff like this, but I was at a store and it caught my eye. So obviously it's a fairly old-looking kid's toy. But then I noticed VTech. VTech is a very popular toy company that makes like interactive toys like this. I buy VTech cars all the time. They talk to each other. They go on tracks and can interact with the track. I didn't know VTech was making toys way back whenever this was made. And I don't know what year it is, but I'm guessing it's late 80s, early 90s. So I looked it up while I was there. And this is an older model of interactive toy that they made. At Goodwill, they put tags on stuff. It's color-coded, and they have a system. And sometimes people just forget to tag stuff. At that point, the price depends entirely on how much that clerk likes you. And I make it a point not just to get an advantage on people or whatever, but just as a point, I'm nice to everybody I run into in retail, because I did that job, and it's not great. So the price, according to the lady at the register, was $1. So first, we're going to see if it works. So what I did in the store is the kiss of death on any interactive toy is corrosion. So you look at the screws, which there's no way you're going to be able to see that, but you look at screws to see if they're rusty. If you have rusty screws, it was immersed in water at some point, or laying in water or out in the rain, and at that point it's no good. And you would think, how would this get wet? If you have toddlers, you would know I had to stop my 3-year-old from getting in the bathtub with his tablet. He's going to watch Frozen in the bathtub. That would have surely been the end of the tablet. So in the store, I pulled this open and saw that this is actually completely clean. There were no batteries left in it. So let's throw some batteries in and see what we got going on here. That works. Just fired up. I don't know if we're going to get any sound out of this thing. Oh, that sounds terrible. I mean, it sounds terrible because it's probably supposed to. It's old. So it works. Nice. Oh, okay. It doesn't shut off. That's why the batteries are so easy to take out. But we know it works. And I got it for $1, and I looked at some listings, and I thought we could definitely do something with it. So let's look at that real quick here. All right, so we got 9 listings. That one's very yellow. That was definitely in the sun for quite a while. But 9 listings, not all of them are actually the same thing. So we got 6 of them that are the same. One coming from the UK, another UK. So we got 3 in the United States. If and this, to be clear, this is like a nostalgia toy. I get a lot of grandparents in my eBay store that buy the toys they played with. They buy the toys their kids played with for their grandkids. So it doesn't matter that this is antiquated and could be easily outdone by basically anything out there today. People that want it. So obviously the yellow one's pretty trash. So that's 18. This one's 28. And this one's 25. And we'll look at our sold listings. So we've got 30. And this is a decent looking one. Tested, works. We got 32. Got 33. And we got 22. So more sold than are for sale, and that's pretty much the definition of low supply, high demand. Even though high demand being a relative thing, people that want this will pay a certain amount of money. But 4 sold in the last 3 months, only 3 for sale in the United States. So this, I paid $1 for it. We're not going to be too upset with whatever we get out of it. So mine is nicer than the extremely yellow one. So right away, mine is worth more than 18. And then we got 25, tested working, 28, tested working. So if I do 22 free shipping, and this isn't super heavy, can I take the batteries out? Yes. This is 1 pound, 2 ounces. I would put this in an envelope because it's pretty robust. So I'm going to do free shipping, and I'm probably going to do $22 on it. Shipping is probably going to be $8. That's pretty much where we are with that. Oh yeah, I forgot. I paid $1. So, not a bad haul. Spent $12 for $50 profit. I think everything will move. This will definitely move. The previous board game, the Queen's Game one, will definitely move. Rodney Dangerfield, probably at some point. Onitama pieces could or could not. We're the only pieces out there, so that could work to our advantage. But hey, not a bad day of thrifting. All right, like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.